I used to love watching Sex and the City. The show was launched in 1998 and it was a huge success worldwide. I remember feeling very intrigued with Carrie Bradshaw, especially her expensive wardrobe and her exciting lifestyle. Back then I thought, this lady is really living the life. But the older I get, the more I think so many things in the series just don't make any sense. First of all, Carrie works as a freelance writer. She writes a column about dating for New York Star once a week. It also appears that Carrie only has this one job, so it's not that hard to try to figure out what she makes.
Do you have any other income besides the column? No.
Whereas in 2024, with the help of the internet, a lot of people now have a side hustle on top of their day job. And if you're lucky enough, sometimes your side hustle might even outdo your 9 to 5. Besides, because the world is so connected right now, there are also more opportunities to scale your business. This means it's not as easy to gauge what people make nowadays compared to 20 years ago. In the series, Carrie did mention she's paid $4 per word. I did some research and apparently this is way more than what a lot of writers would get nowadays. In fact, many writers say they are lucky to even get $2 per word. But anyway, let's assume Carrie is an excellent writer and she's paid way above the market rate for her time. But even then, she still wouldn't be able to sustain her very expensive lifestyle. I did some digging and it looks like she's likely to be making about $5,000 a month before tax. And if we factor in the taxes for where she lives, her net income would be about $3,600 a month, which is about $6,400 in today's money. It sounds like a healthy income, but definitely not enough to live like Carrie Bradshaw. First of all, she lives in one of the most expensive cities in the world, New York, and in the Upper East Side. Carrie pays about $750 a month for rent, which is quite low, but the reason we're given is that the building is on rent control, which, by the way, is not actually a common thing in New York. So this first outgoing is already not very realistic, but let's move on. Carrie is also constantly eating out and having drinks, not just in any restaurant, but those that look really fancy. As someone who religiously packs lunch and does meal planning, I honestly cannot imagine her expenses on food, especially seeing she doesn't cook at all. In fact, Carrie famously said she uses her oven to store her designer shoes.
Did you know stoves aren't just for storage?
It's also not uncommon to see Carrie enjoying cocktails like Cosmopolitan. I'm not a big drinker, but I think those drinks cost about $15, so they can add up quite quickly. On top of that, she's also a very heavy smoker. In the show, she smokes about a pack a day, and I'm sure you'll agree this is both unhealthy and expensive. Next one is transportation. Carrie mainly takes taxis or cabs. In fact, it looks like she had no idea how much the buses even cost.
Excuse me, can you tell me how much the bus is?
$1.50.
Really?
Now, I have no problem taking taxi in order to save time, but I think for Carrie, she didn't actually ever consider the cheaper alternatives until she really had to. And of course, Carrie has a very expensive taste for shoes, bags, and everything else.
Here. Swear on Chanel.
In the show, Carrie is always buying Manolo Blahnik and Christian Louboutin, and as we all know, those shoes are not cheap, and she has a massive collection of them.
I need your honest opinion. You can't afford them?
I also have no idea how she does it because those high heels look incredibly painful to walk in, but Carrie just looks like she's having her best time wearing them. And if that's not enough, she's also a regular customer at stores like Dolce & Gabbana, Dior, and Prada, to the extent she seems really at home in those settings. In fact, she even knows the sales associate on a personal level.
For me, it's meeting the product.
I found my customers with this beautiful.
So how is Claudia?
We broke up.
Oh.
So I think it's fair to say Carrie lives a very upscale lifestyle, something that's not sustainable on her paycheck. I feel like the show wants to portray Carrie as a very carefree spirit, so whatever money she gets, her first thought is to spend it rather than to save for the future or put in an investment. I used to think Carrie was really enjoying her life, but now that I'm in my 30s, I think Carrie is quite irresponsible financially.
Okay, it says here that you have $700 in your checking account
I just paid my credit card bill.
and $957 in savings.
At one point, Carrie is about to have nowhere to live because her apartment is being sold and she has no money to put down as the deposit for the property. This next part doesn't sit right with me because Carrie is upset that her friend Charlotte didn't offer to help her with the deposit.
Why didn't you offer me the money? And what kills me is you don't even have to work. You're volunteering.
When she's the one who put herself in this position in the first place.
I spent $40,000 on shoes and I have no place to live?
Yes, she did spend $40,000 on designer shoes alone. And let me remind you, this was 20 years ago. So if you factor in inflation, that money would be worth $70,000 today. By the way, this is the only episode where we're given a bit of insight about how much Carrie spends on her wardrobe. In all the other episodes, Carrie is basically living a life that doesn't seem compatible with her earnings. Anyway, eventually, Charlotte, bless her, did land a whopping $30,000 to Carrie. Basically, Charlotte was going through a divorce and so she sold her Tiffany & Co. engagement ring and gave the money to Carrie. Something else that troubles me is that even when Carrie is in such a desperate situation, she continues to be quite ignorant.
You walked? No, I took a $5 cab ride 7 blocks. These shoes pinch my feet, but I love them.
It's almost like she's refusing to take any accountability. On top of that, you would think after going through this crisis, Carrie might learn something from this and change her way, but that is not the case at all. Carrie continues to live the high life and she spends whatever money she makes. In season 5, she gets a check for $25,000 and the first thing she did was shopping at Prada. She bought herself a whole brand new outfit and even paid for a very expensive shirt for her boyfriend.
Carrie, thanks, but you can't afford this. You can't afford that stuff you bought yourself.
Last week I couldn't, but voila. It's a check from our publishers. They sold my book in Paris.
I really wish she had paid Charlotte back with that money instead. I mean, if you factor in taxes, even if she had given Charlotte the entire paycheck, she would still be owing her quite a bit of money. Who else is with me on this? I think the problem a lot of people have with this character is that it feels like Carrie never has to face any consequences for her poor financial decisions. I mean, she spends everything she has, but when she's in trouble, her friends or her ex-boyfriend are always ready to help.
I want you to take the ring for your down payment.
Oh, no, I can't.
And somehow she's always okay in the end. However, in real life, things would have been very different. Realistically, someone living this way would most likely have gone into some serious financial troubles within a few years. Carrie also doesn't seem to put too much effort into trying to increase her earnings, especially when she seemingly has a lot of time on her hands. I mean, she's always having brunch and doing shopping in the city. Carrie eventually works for Vogue, writing articles for $4 per word. But here's the thing, if I owe my friend $30,000, which by the way in today's money would be $53,000, I'll make sure that I work as hard as I could to pay my friend back in the shortest time possible. But Carrie doesn't seem too bothered.
Hello, lover.
Yes, she's still shopping like she always has, buying those expensive Christian Louboutin shoes just so she could wear them on a date with her ex-boyfriend. It isn't until season 5 that Carrie is approached by a publisher to write a book about dating. And when you have a book deal, you receive a book advance, and in Carrie's case, it's $25,000. Her book also ends up doing really well in Paris, which means she might receive a royalty payment every month. So this might have changed her financial position, but truthfully, if Carrie continues her spending habits, this extra income might not help that much. Something else I'm not sure about the storyline is how Carrie's financial problems all seem to go away when she married a very wealthy businessman, John or Mr. Big. It's almost like she was rescued by her Prince Charming. Now I know this does happen in real life, but it's just not a very inspiring storyline. In the sequel series, And Just Like That, which by the way I haven't watched, Carrie continues to live a very lavish lifestyle.
Life's too short not to try something new.
Now, I'm probably being a bit cynical here, but now that Carrie is married to John, her spending suddenly make a lot more sense compared to when she was on a freelance income. In fact, when John very sadly passed away, Carrie inherited quite a fortune. Now, I know it's not fair to attribute her wealth and success to her marriage, because it is completely possible for Carrie to be in the position she is right now through her own hard work. But I can't help but wonder, what if Carrie never met John? What would her life look like right now? Especially if she continued to spend absolutely everything she had.
I will literally be the old woman who lived in her shoes.
In a way, Carrie kind of reminds me of myself 10 years ago. Now, I was never in debt from shopping, but I definitely had the wrong priority for longer than I would like. I'm glad I came to my senses when I did, because otherwise my life would look quite different right now. If there's one thing to take away from this video, I think it's the fact that often we only see what people let us see. I mean, if you look at Carrie and her expensive jewelry and designer shoes, it's easy to assume that she's doing really well, but what we don't get to see is the financial struggle behind closed doors. I think this is especially applicable in today's world, where we are always comparing ourselves to others and we never feel like we have enough. And that is all I have today. Thank you so much for being here. Take care, and I will see you soon.